I guess our topic for today, and I guess the thought process behind it was, kind of getting your getting your leathercraft out of isolation. Leathercraft for primarily is a solo is a solo production. Most of you work alone in a shop by yourself. Sometimes you have people come in, sometimes there's a couple of you, but for the most part, at least in our community, many of you work alone. And so, um, we've invited Matt and Aaron and Cheryl. And gosh, Mark, you could speak to this absolutely as well. But how do we make that connection in our community when what we're doing is such a solo pursuit? How can we make those connections with other artisans? How can we make connections within our community? How can we find almost that higher purpose? And all three of these guests have found ways to do that. I'll just quickly start with Cheryl. Her and her husband Tom have been teaching leathercraft and working with their 4-H groups for I don't know how many years, Cheryl. It's a lot of years.
This is our 18th year.
Yeah, for a lot of years. And I tell you, I've had the privilege of meeting some of their kids, per se, and you can tell just by how fond those kids are of Cheryl and Tom, what great work they're doing. So not only does Cheryl get to, create, and she's an incredible teacher, but she's making an impact on the next generation as well, which is really fulfilling. It's and I'll let you guys speak to this more as we go along, but Aaron's done the same thing as well with the FFA and high school kids. He's kind of um I guess through connection has been able to get into that community, and he's loved and revered and sought after, and teachers want to introduce leathercraft into their classroom, and kids are wanting to do leathercraft as their SAE projects for FFA, state convention, and they're winning because it's something different, which is really, really incredible. And I know Matt has had the opportunity at Burns to create some really, along with his teams, but just create some really meaningful products that have been offered up as auction for community, like for a community event, or donating your work and raising money for a higher cause. And I think, and Mark, I mean, and they're all teaching, you're all teaching, which is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do um, to just find that higher purpose and find a connection in the community. So we want to talk about how I want to kind of give the floor to them on what they've experienced, and then, tying it back to how we can help you do the same thing in your sphere of influence, in your neighborhood, in your town, city, county, state, whatever that looks like. So I'm just going to start, Cheryl, and then we'll go Cheryl, Aaron, and then Matt, and just, quickly tell us, how this has, how finding a way to not just make things, going beyond just the making, has impacted you personally, and maybe an experience about that.
Yeah. So, as Misty said, we've been doing the 4-H Leathercraft Club. So this is our 18th year. It's a long story how we got started, so I won't go into that. But um, we've had 5 and Solon winners come out of our club. So, which is pretty incredible. And most of them are still doing leatherwork today. A lot of our kids that we keep in contact with that have graduated out of the program are still doing leathercraft. They still contact us and ask us questions and things like that. So it's really cool. So it's not just impacting them while they are in the program, but it's carrying them through life.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
that's really cool. And it's good for us. I mean, right now, we have 22 kids in our club this year, which is about double from normal. Usually we
Wow.
range between 10 and 12, and now we're up to 22. So it's been increasing the last few years um, substantially. So, I mean, that's a lot of kids that we have a chance to um, impact lives in some way. And for us, we each meeting that we have, we teach them a small project that teaches them a set of skills. So when they get done at the meetings, they have something they can take home and say, I just made this. And that's really what gets us because they're excited. I mean, a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to do crafts or art or anything like that, especially in the schools nowadays, depending on what they're doing. So this is our opportunity to help them learn how to make stuff with their hands. I mean, I've been a crafter all my life. As long as I can remember, I've been making stuff even as a kid. But a lot of kids don't have the opportunity to be taught and stuff like that. So that's where we come in is to teach them those skills, but it teaches them more than just leathercraft skills. It teaches them some life skills. Teach them how to use their hands, how to be proud of what they just done, how to, look for workmanship and self-confidence. So one little example that we had one girl who was very shy, didn't really want to do anything. Her mom made her come to leathercraft and be a part of her age. She didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. Um, Mom said she needs extra one-on-one help. And so, we did the best we could. And she stumbled through the year. But when it came to fair time, she was the one we had our display set up and she went through judging and didn't do great, but because she didn't really put the effort in. But she kind of hung out with us that she was at our display telling everybody who walked by about 4-H and leathercraft. I mean, she
Oh,
was the ambassador. And she was, I mean, it didn't matter who it was, how old you were, she was telling about everything that we made, everything that's on the display, explaining it all, getting them to sign up for more information if they were young enough for 4-H. I mean, she was our ambassador, but, you know, 9 months earlier, we could barely get her to talk. And now
yeah.
she's out there, promoting 4-H and leathercraft. And now she has a little side business that she does at little fairs and stuff where she makes key pops and stuff and sells them for a couple bucks or whatever. So, going from not wanting to do anything to actually having a little business at 12 years old,
Yeah.
pretty cool. So
That's
that's why
not
we do this
just,
stuff.
yeah, to your point, it's not just teaching leathercraft and this traditional art, it's teaching life skills, you know, like working through those moments when you just don't want to do it.
Or figuring out
Mom's making me do it, or my boss is making me do it, or I've got to do this in school. My teacher's making me do it. And you just do it. But in the end, you know, you find that you have some almost pride in that, pride and some, there it just goes beyond. That's a really cool moment.
you learn problem solving skills, how to
Yeah.
accept stuff that doesn't go right. I mean, you think you
Yeah.
have a really good project and the judge doesn't like it that much. How do you deal with that disappointment? How do you get through it?
Right.
And just perseverance. I mean, it's amazing. And just, 4 of our kids are 6 years old this year. So we started young. So that's
That's
crazy.
so cool.
That's crazy. That's way too much. And we're actually, one of them is a second generation. His mom was in our club when she was in, junior
Oh,
high, high school, and now he's part of our club. So we're into the second generation. That's how long we've been doing it. So,
that's so cool. Full circle right there, right?
yep.
And And I mean, so Cheryl, what does that mean for you?
Means we've been doing this a really, really long time. No, it's pretty,
Okay.
no, it's pretty cool though, because it still lives on. I mean, his mom's still doing leather work. I mean, I lost track
That's
of her for quite a few years, and then we got back in touch, and she was asking me questions about stuff. She goes, "I'm still working with leather. I'm still doing a little bit of stuff." And then when Clancy was old enough to join, so this is actually his second year. He joined when he was 5, when he was old enough, and she wants him in that. So, I mean, it's cool that we're the second generation, and we had an impact on her life that she
yeah,
wants to pass it on to her kids now. So,
right.
I mean, she thought it was that important in her life that she wants to pass it on to her kids.
And that's far better than selling a belt to someone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Or fill in the blank, right?
Anything.
Okay, Aaron, I want to hear from you. Thank you, Cheryl.
All right. So, first and foremost, I mean, I was a veteran. A lot of people already know that, but I taught a lot of my veteran friends leatherwork. I mean, when I was still in the army, and then as I retired, and my group of friends retired and stuff. Um, we did a lot of work with veteran groups and things like that. And one of the cool things that, I mean, I've personally experienced it, but just about everybody that I've taught or showed leatherwork to, they all comment that, it really gives them something to focus on, and kind of keeps the demons away, and it's it's really nice to hear that and know firsthand kind of how you're helping people in a way like that. But there's a close bond between veterans a lot of the time. And so it's really neat to have a way to kind of stick with that and kind of keep that tradition alive as well. But besides that, we also have done a lot with the school kids, with the FFA groups and the ag groups and things like that. And we have been able to go to the state and national FFA conferences. We're still doing the state one with makers, but hopefully we can get back to the national one sometime. But right now it's also the same weekend as Pendleton, so priorities. And anyway, but through those two meetings, like, I mean, at the state organization, we estimate that we bring leathercraft to about 12,000 kids. And then at the national one, we bring it to about 20 to 30,000, depending on the year. And we set up a booth where the kids can come, and we've just got just thousands and thousands and thousands of key fobs, and everybody gets a key fob. They get to stamp on it, color on it, whatever they want to do. And it's really neat because a lot of reasons, but one, some of those kids go to that thing and there's so many vendors there that are just there to sell them, crappy sunglasses and stuff like that. And a lot of those kids don't even have money for that stuff, and so it's awesome to be able to take and set that up and let them do that for free. But it also, of course, is an interactive thing that they can make something. And we've had kids that have come back the next year and they're like, "Oh my God, mine's still hanging on my backpack. Look here," and they'll ask if they can make another one. And
Or for their moms.
or for their parents or for their little brother. I mean, we have one little boy, we handed him his one key fob and he was like, "Can I please have two? I have twin sisters and I can't just go home with one."
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, buddy. Matter of fact, here's a third one so that you can have one too. But so anyway, and I mean, I've really the FFA kids, kind of like the 4-H kids. I mean, these kids are the cream of the crop. Like they care about their futures. They are working towards goals and things like that. And I mean, it's just out of 12,000 kids at a convention, you've got like two bad apples, and they are quickly put away.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing, and it also kind of gives you hope for the next generation, to see these kids and how motivated they are and stuff like that. But like the national convention, it was really funny. The line to get into our booth was about an hour long on the first day. And the second day, when they opened the doors, kids were sprinting to come and get to our booth so that they wouldn't have to stand in line. And it was really funny. So it was very
Yeah.
unique experience to know that you brought something that they're so interested in and they want to do. Matter of fact, my favorite thing I've done at one of those conventions so far was Dale Brisby, the YouTube personality that's like a rodeoer.
Oh yeah.
You know, he always has a booth at the state one and sometimes at the national one, but he was at the Houston convention a couple of years ago. His booth was almost directly across from ours. And towards the end of day two, it's a 3-day event. Towards the end of day two, he's sitting over there in his booth all by himself, scrolling his phone, and our booth is just packed full of kids. And so, of course, I had to take a little video, like, oh, look at Dale Bispy's booth. Oh, look at the maker's booth. So, anyway, but yeah, it's really been rewarding to get the kids involved in it and to make the connections it's made. Like Misty said in the introduction, we also have done a lot with the state, the Texas State Ag Teachers Convention. We teach classes at it and give seminars, and we have a booth there. And I mean, we've had well over 100 schools order leatherworking stuff to start programs for their kids and things like that, all because of our efforts to do all this stuff.
And you can always tell when it's the ag teacher wanting to do leather work or the principal. By the order that comes through the PO, you know which one is doing it.
So, but yeah, it's been great. As far as just kind of networking and like Misty was talking about, you know, you're usually alone when you're a leather worker. One of the most fun things we did when we owned Makers, one of our customers and good friend of mine actually contacted me and he said, you know what I miss about the corporate world? He had a corporate job for years and then he quit and now he makes holsters. And he said, you know what I miss the most? He said, I miss the company Christmas party. He said it was the one day a year we all just kicked back and had fun and there was no hierarchy and you know there was probably alcohol involved. It was so much fun. So that year at Makers we had a Christmas party that was exactly how we advertised. Like, hey, for all of you that don't get a corporate Christmas party, we're gonna have it. And I think we deep fried like 9 turkeys that day. We had 3 volunteers bring turkey fryers.
Yeah,
we
but
deep
then
fried 9
COVID
turkeys.
hit the next year.
Yeah.
So we should not ever do that again.
Yeah. But it was such an overwhelming success though. I mean, we had at least 50 people show up. And
Awesome.
I mean, we had a great time. We did ugly sweater competition. We did the white elephant exchange where everybody brings something and you can participate or not, you know, and it just really was a great time. And it was a great networking opportunity with like-minded folks and other leather workers, you know, and stuff. And it really created a unique opportunity. And we may have to revisit that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So
That sounds like so much fun. I think, you know what, Aaron, that was a really great segue into something that I wanted to touch on just before Matt chimes in on this. But I do think that, you know, hopefully as you're listening to, as we've listened to Sheryl and Aaron share kind of what they've done and their experience and how, I mean, really it's helped them connect with definitely the next generation for these two, but also, you know, find that higher purpose like that. There is something about that, not just doing something that you love for you, but doing something that you love that benefits so many others, that you're able to share that love and that appreciation or that craftsmanship with. And so I want us, as we're thinking about this, first, I forgot to ask, did everybody get the link and to download the workbook? Did everybody get that? No, Diane? Okay. So we have a little fillable like it's a 5-page workbook
I'll drop it in the chat right now.
so that you can look at it, because if these what they're saying is, you know, the wheels are a turning, like how can I do something like this? This workbook will help you kind of like identify, okay, why this is what I love about leathercraft in general. This is what I love about it. And then, wait, do I already do something like with people? Like, am I getting together with my guild and are we doing stuff? Am I teaching? Am I involved, in the 4-H club? Or maybe this is sparking some ideas for you. And so I think identifying like those connections that maybe you already have that maybe you don't realize could catapult your leathercraft, to quote the name of this event, out of isolation, so that you can then find that higher purpose, find that connection, and then share what you love about the craft with others. Anyway, so be thinking about that. Okay, Matt, you're a little bit different than Cheryl and Aaron, and I'm excited for you to share. So tell me what you do and how that benefits you.
Yeah, well, we're a lot the same in wanting to help others, just maybe a little bit different age groups in some sense.
Yep.
You know, like others that I get around, I was the same way at my early age. I didn't realize that someone could make a career out of leather work. And my opportunity with Burns and the skill set I had to learn saddle making skills, tooling skills, that kind of thing, and having the opportunity for the company that I'm with to want to grow in the business and be within the entire industry of leathercraft. It gave me the opportunity to have to make a pretty tough decision, to be honest. And that decision was, do I want to be the best saddle maker in the industry, or do I want to help others be great saddle makers or toolers or boot makers or whatever? And selfishly, I could have just chose the road that I was headed on, which was I wanted to be the best saddle maker in the industry. And in order for me to grow with the company, it was a choice I had to make. Not that I couldn't have grown just being a saddle maker, but because I had that opportunity to choose, I didn't know that I would love helping others and teaching others. So that inspired me to kind of set myself aside. And to be honest, it actually made me a better maker too. Because now I have the opportunity to help others be good at what they do. And as teachers, we want to be the best we can be while we're teaching. And so, we don't want to teach them the wrong way. We don't want to teach them, the bad ways. So you have to really start focusing on what the hell you're doing and what makes this thing the best it can be. So you're constantly thinking about that while you're teaching. So I think that's why teachers like Cheryl and Aaron and even Mark, I know he does a lot of teaching. I think that's what makes us better craftsmen too, is because we really work hard to do that. But I'm the same way. I've dealt with the high schools here close and realized they didn't have any idea that you could make a dollar doing leather work. Like, it just seems like a craft around here in my country, and finding those kids that like that, and in the colleges that I've spent time with doing some little lessons, not as much as like Aaron has, but I've spent some time explaining, like, hey, this is where this career has led me so far. And they're just like almost a little bit dumbfounded, like, really, you can do this stuff and actually make a living? And it's like, well, yeah, I am. And so are now 50 others within our umbrella of craftsmen. And that's what I love. I love to help someone understand that you can go do this type of thing, working with your hands. You can make money at it, do what you love, and make a career out of it. And that's what I really love about sharing what I know and my knowledge. And no different than Cheryl and Aaron. If I get the opportunity to share with the young, I like that too. But there's a lot of middle aged kids, I would say, from 16 to 25, that are unsure where they want to be. And they when they get the opportunity to find this and and like you said, be creative, learn skills that sometimes you fail and we got to start over, and oh my gosh, it's not the end of the world. We're going to be fine. And we have a lesson from it. And learning like I did, get your butt handed to you once in a while. And if you're getting judged, sometimes it's harsh words and it's hurtful, but it pushes you and drives you to be better and not make those same mistakes next time. So that's my story. I love everything everyone can do to help people. I remember having conversations with some of the older saddle makers that they didn't share stuff. They put a blanket over their work if you walked in their shop. They were not going to do it. And I think now that we share like this, it's saving the industry. I think if we kept going down that road, Japan and China would have taken over. I mean, I just flat think that. I think it's our job now to spread it with generations and make sure that we're helping that way. And as far as a quick rundown of where I like to help, I've spent, I don't know, I think it's 6 or 7 years with this Colorado Saddle Makers Association, helping them with an event, a winter event that we've done at Burns for a long time, and seeing those people grow into really good craftsmen and toolers and all that stuff's been a great thing for Burns and myself, of course. And just milling around the high school here and helping those kids through our video section of Illum, of course, that some of you are dabbling in and learning how to do some of the stuff we're teaching on here. But I think it's going to be a huge thing, and I think we need to just keep doing whatever it takes to keep growing this industry. There's enough room for everyone, and I truly believe that. And I think we just share what we can. I mean, from secret sauce to the French fry, just share it. It ain't gonna hurt us. So that's my 2 cents.
I like it. Thanks, Matt. I think one other thought that I've had, because I know that probably every craftsman has done this, but I think another really easy way to make connections and kind of find that higher purpose is just like donate your product for a good cause. I know we had in our little community in Salina, where our home base is, there was a little boy who got kicked, and he's a dear family friend, got kicked in the head by a horse and we just didn't think he was going to live. And Matt and the team put together a saddle especially for him, and they auctioned it off. And Matt, I don't know what that saddle brought in for that family, but it was a lot of money, and there was lots and lots. It was just something that, even within your own community, if there are, people that are suffering, or organizations that help a certain demographic of people, or there's a children's hospital and they do a big fundraiser every year. I don't know. That is a really easy way for you to get your craftsmanship out there for people to appreciate and see, but then also gives you that connection to the community and that higher purpose as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. And well, I'll just share one other thing, and the difference between me and the big crew I work with every day can make a difference here, but I think you can still make that work. Just like she said, having a little of your own raffle or whatever for a cause. But one thing we've tried to do, I was really good friends with the bishop here in town, my town, that I actually worked for him when I was in my early teens. But for 3 years, we as a team, we didn't really even build anything, but we all pitched in and put some money down and just made sure some kids that needed it for Christmas got Christmas. And we went and handed it to the bishop, and the bishop got it delivered, unknown to anyone but him. But now he's a believer in the craft. He's constantly, he got into woodworking and lathe and all that stuff, and he shares stuff with me all the time. And because he just got attached to what we are doing. He's just a dairy farmer to start with. But I think those little things can go a long ways in your community, and showing that support. And the one thing I thought of while Misty was talking that is the scariest part for almost anyone. Put yourself out there, show off your work, get the dang critiques, get the shutdowns, get the slaps on the back, the whole works. Just do that. That right there alone, you can not only gain some traction with what you build and what you sell, but you can also get so much inspiration from these people. And if we keep sharing that, I get ideas from all kinds of stuff, bag makers, shoemakers, the 4-H people. I mean, like, there's things that I've seen some of Cheryl's crew enter in that novice deal at Sheridan, and it's like, wow, I never thought of that, and you can get something from everything is what I'm pointing out. So just share the work, just put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm just thinking because because we do tend to work alone. There are some of us that get to work with people. Matt gets to work with a lot of people at the shops. I know Lena and Aaron get to work together. Mark, you get to bring people into your workshop and teach, which is really, really cool. Obviously, Cheryl's hosting classes, Diane, and anybody else. I can only see these people on my tiny phone, but I mean, my mind's just going, there are so many ways that we could connect with one another, and we have this really great thing called technology and social media that makes it really, really, really easy to connect. Um, I mean, there are just and one thing about this community as well is we're very, I would say we're like a big fat family, like we just are we feel very connected to one another. We're concerned about one another. We want to hear about the kids and the dog and the mom and the dad and the surgery or the whatever, fill in the blank. But I would imagine that there would be many, many, many ways that we could connect even at a higher level to do even more good within our sphere of influence, within our control, because it feels like right now maybe the world is just in chaos at all times, and there's always something negative to be said about someone or some situation or some natural disaster or and wouldn't it be really incredible to just figure out, just start doing things together to really make an impact in the world, and that can all start with our little leathercraft family. um so I would encourage you to, like, as we think about this, and I don't even know what time it is. Okay, yes, as we think about how we can make these connections, because I think that's what is really, really, really important, is making those connections with one another as craftsmen, with the next generation. Stay connected to those that are way beyond you that can offer wisdom. To Matt's point, learn from those people. Get as much of their knowledge right now while you can, because they're not going to be there forever. I feel like a lot of our custom boot makers they're just going away, and that generation is going to be gone soon. And so taking those opportunities to put yourself out there, if you have somebody that you really look up to, that you really want to learn from, reach out to them, you know, be courageous and do those things. And then, think about how you can collaborate and do something really meaningful, um, for yourself, for those other people, for the community at large, and you know, think of how you can give back. I think that's one of the most rewarding the one of the most rewarding things in just life in general is just giving back. I have a saying, and probably everybody on the Burns team, maybe all of you, well, maybe all of you minus Diane and whoever else I can't see. But I always say you get what you give. And so I think giving is a really, really, really important part of living a joyful, fulfilling, connected, rewarding life. And so I I um I want to just open it up really quickly for a few more minutes for any of our guests that have any additional thoughts, questions, ideas. Let's just open it up for like another 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up and let you guys get on with your evening. So,
one of the things that one of my mottos is to share your passion. I don't care what it is. Music, leathercraft, underwater BB stacking, whatever it is, anybody to share it with. And there's people out there who would be glad if you just say, hey, want to learn how to do this? Or if they admire something you've done and are curious about it, say, come over to the shop, I'll show you how you do it. And some will take you up out of it, some won't. Some will just sit and admire it, and that'd be fine. But some will say, yeah, I'll come over. I'd love to learn how to do that. So just share whatever makes you happy. That's your passion. Make sure you share it with somebody else.
oh, I love that. Love
My
that
passion is
title.
chocolate ice cream, but I don't share.
Aaron Heizer. Well, Derek, you did drop the link to the workbook in the chat, right? Thank you. I would encourage any of you, if this has got your mind going, take some time, take an hour to work through the workbook and really identify some things that maybe you as an individual leather crafter can do to make those connections and to give back, find your higher purpose, because I think if you do that, you're just going to see what opportunities come. I feel like opportunity shows up when you are kind of focused on others. It's odd, but when you're not so focused on yourself and creating your own success or opportunities for success for you just kind of show up, which is pretty cool. Anyways, any other final words, thoughts? Mark, do you have anything? I'm curious.
Well, I could kind of talk about a little bit of it in the fact that, putting yourself out there, like Matt said, is one of the hardest things you have to do. And you have pushed me to teach in places where I wouldn't teach until this year. And what I see for me is, is I've got a lot of people that I've spent over the last 4 years that's my main income is teaching leather work here at the shop. So being able to do that 5-day classes with people coming in, not locals, our local community is a really hard one to get into. I mean, I've tried to do things like build shops for the Cody Night Rodeo, which would be raffled off kind of a thing where they could use that for funding and whatnot. And they're like, no. Or we had a drill team. I volunteered to build them a pair of chaps they could raffle off instead of doing bring your junk to the VA or the VFW hall and sell it. Here's a product that, you could sell over the summer that would bring in way more money to people that were just interested in have something to even hang on our wall. So that doesn't
Right.
work really good here. But as far as what I've seen is not by putting myself out there over the last 5 years. What I'm seeing now is the people that are I'm gonna say students that are competing at Sheridan and at Pendleton, and one of them in particular is Josh.
Yeah.
He was one of my first students, and he has now won Pendleton 3 years in a row and Sheridan. Um, as an instructor, I've always told him, I said, I don't care if I compete with you. I just want you to compete or place higher than I do, because that way I know that I'm doing my job. And this last couple of weeks, I've probably had 25 different people from around the world, a lot of them from Australia that I've done online Zooms with and stuff like that, are winning their shows down there and stuff like that. And so being able to put yourself out there is the hard thing, but it'll come back and reward you down the road. So that's a little hurdle you can get over if you just have Misty poke you in the ribs and sign you up for a class and set
I'm
you up and
really good
say,
at that.
you're coming to
Mark.
Pendleton.
Yeah, be careful, Mark. You probably haven't seen her mean side yet.
Not yet, but I'm sure she's got one.
Oh, believe me,
So
Matt
no, but
knows.
that's the thing that I'd have to say is it doesn't matter who you are, you have to put yourself out there in order to get help or to help others. I remember, it's kind of a long story, we'll try and make it short, is I was having some trouble drawing some flowers, and what most people do is they'll call me and go, hey, can you draw me a flower? And I'm like, no, I ain't going to draw you a flower. I don't have any skin in the game. You draw me a flower and then I'll go over it with you. That way you're learning something. You don't learn anything if I draw it. And I was always afraid to talk to people like Troy West and those guys. It's like, oh man, they're way better than I am. They don't have time for somebody like me. Well, I was having trouble with this little pattern, and I sent it to Troy, and I go, Troy, man, I said, I don't know what's going on. And he took and broke it down and was more than willing to work with me on it.
Yeah.
But I think it was because I put myself out there saying, hey, I'm drawing something, but I ain't any good at it. Where a lot of times people are like, draw me that, and then I can tool it. Well, my student this last 3 days picked up a pattern that she bought online, and she found out that just because you buy a pattern doesn't mean you can tool it. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is put yourself out there, even with people that are higher than you, and ask them questions. They'll work with you if you don't expect them to give it to you.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so important. It takes courage. It takes courage. Maybe you've been doing this for 20 years, but you're still struggling with whatever. I think that's the point. And I think we're really lucky to be a part of a community that cares. For the most part, I think we care about one another, and we truly are like a little family. Our live events feel like a family reunion. Sometimes it's the only time we get to see one another in person, or catch up at at a booth or whatever it is, or in a classroom. And so I think just I guess throwing your fear and your doubts and your maybe your disbelief in your skills and abilities, just throw it in the garbage, and yeah, make those connections, because that's what it's all about. It really, really, really is. Okay, well, I appreciate every one of you being on here. I do hope that you spend some time, if any of this that we've talked about today has sparked some ideas and thoughts, that you spend a little time going through the workbook, and then let's do some stuff, because that would be amazing, right? So thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Matt, for sharing what you do. And thanks everybody else for being a part of it. And we will let you know what we're doing next month.